Good evening and welcome. I'm your host, Bob Pace. This is a live podcast, broadcast on YouTube. You found me on Facebook. I'm using the SteamYard application, and we're here to fight CPS and get our children back. That's something that is really a lot that has to be done there. Now, I noticed that Jonathan Franklin signed in early. How do I all to ask you about CPS? Well, there's lots of ways you can ask me, Jonathan. That's the first step there. This is an interactive podcast, meaning that I like to have participation. One way is to text a message, which Jonathan already did. All I ask is that when you text the question about CPS or anything to do with CPS, is that you put the city and state you're from. And if you're from a country other than the USA, that's fine too, because I've had other countries contact me about CPS. Excuse me one second. Now, the countries that have participated in our podcast have been from Australia, Canada, United Kingdom, Ghana, Mexico, and Mozambique. I probably pronounced that right there, but they've been all people that have asked questions. The guy from Mexico actually called in too because he had a case. He's trying to get his two daughters back from the United States. Now you're sad with this big agency called CPS. It's the Child Protection System. In California, it's called Child Protection Services. A lot of other states it is too. Some is called Department of Children Services, DCS. There can be other acronyms, but it's all the same. It's a branch of social service that for a long time has been the watchdog of our children. It was ratified by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse, and also to do family reunification. That's real important, the family reunification. It seems like that gets lost in the translation and stuff. So a little bit cold. I'm wearing a jacket right now. We've had a lousy day today. I mean, typically California is sunny year round, but we've had a very wet winter and heavy snow in the mountains, and so we got lots of water, which is something that California needs. Hi, Faye. Oh, boy. I'm so glad you saved me out about that one episode, the morning show there with your comments. They were so good. They were so good. Faye is from Richmond, Kentucky. She's been fighting CPS for a long time. She's the advocate group. She knows a lot about child services, so I really appreciate to see her because I look forward to seeing her. She has been on the show. She has talked. And she's a positive note because one thing that's so hard in the child protection system is how to be positive when your children are stolen from you. That's the sad reality. The child protection system is in bad shape. Your children are being trafficked by them for money, for greed. They do child trafficking to place them in foster homes and foster care, and then get into a foster home, a group, a shelter, a single family home. But they're not your friend. I've been fighting for 14 years, and I've been doing this show for quite some time. I've talked to over 500 people from around the country, and the sad part, they all have something in common. They take your children, no matter if the allegations that children in imminent danger. The imminent danger now is no longer, I think, used by CPS. If they want your children right away to start collecting money, they will do so. They will take your children. And they will alienate your children too. And the CPS workers are liars. They do crazy things. They all do. And for a bonus for money, it's an agency that's bad. It's an agency that's bad. And now I know that there is a social worker stalking Faye. That's really sad. That's really sad. Faye is a good mother, loves her mother. And I know how you feel, Faye. These social workers, or I hate to say, are animals. They probably don't like me talking so downplay, but I love for a social worker to tell the truth, to have someone have a case that can sit there and say it worked out well. There have been a couple of cases that have come together. Some people actually followed my advice. They got their kids back and thanked me. So I know I'm doing something in here. I know it's kind of repetition to hear my story. I try not to talk about my story, but I was in CPS too. And I really care about all of you because I wish I could wave a wand and make it all normal again and you with your children. Because I know you do day after day, and I do the same thing. I get so discouraged. Now, this show is produced by Vincent W. Davis. He has his company, Vincent W. Davis and Associates. He's a pool of lawyers that can handle all different cases of law: immigrant law, workplace law, divorce, family service, which we're in right now, family law, juvenile, criminal cases, tax issues. There's lots of things, that the law firm can handle. But the one thing that he does really well, he's a family law attorney. And he wants you to call at 888-888-6582 if he can help you. I'll talk about Mr. Davis in a few minutes. Now, Faye has just shared something about a video. Let me see. I have a video where fired social workers are admitting they are falsifying care records and lying reports. Oh, I'd love to see that video. Oh, geez. Is that from the Kentucky area? I mean, is that where you got that from? We have a new person here. I thought we did know. Wow, they're arrested for it. I'll have to look that up on the internet. Faye. Okay, I was telling you about how to interact with this podcast. You can text in, as Faye's been doing. You can call in. It looks like I got a caller already. Good evening.
Hey, good evening, Bob.
Hey, if that sounds familiar voice.
Yeah, did you get to do the YouTube podcast?
Yeah, I'm doing it right now. I'm live.
Oh, you're doing it right now? Because I couldn't find you live.
Well, I'm on right now. I'm on the room where it says, "Fight CPS, stop taking our children."
Okay, is that on the same webpage?
Yeah, on the Facebook.
The thing, Facebook. Okay, yeah, because I was on YouTube. So
Oh.
your Facebook is
Just type in.
What's your Facebook?
Just type in Bob Pace Fight CPS, and you'll see all the different shows. And the one you're looking for is the Fight CPS, Stop Taking Our Children.
Okay, I will look on that. But yeah, I do have the form, the petition form that I was talking about.
Oh, you found it. Okay, this is Martinez, right?
This is Isaiah Estrada.
Oh, I'm sorry, Isaiah. I talked to so many people. Yes, Isaiah. For all your listeners, Estrada was on this morning. Are you from California?
Yes, I'm from Riverside, California. I
Right,
have a case out
Riverside,
here.
California. Okay. Anyway, he has a case coming up where he has to turn the children over in a couple days, and supposedly there is a restraining order that he was trying to find. Do you have that restraining order, or what do you see? What are you trying to show me?
No, so there's a form that I heard about.
Oh, what is
It's
the
called,
Go ahead.
yeah, it's called, it's a 388 petition.
Oh, I know what that is, but you can't file that petition until your case has got started. Has your case been started?
No, my first court date it's on Wednesday.
Okay. What the 388 is for, and it's in California called the 388. Other states may not do it, but it's for a modification of juvenile court judgments and order. And so if you don't have a plan going, you can't modify anything. It's okay. I want you to hang on to that. When there is a change in circumstances or new evidence, what it does, it forces the judge, when that's filed, to have a hearing within 30 days with the judge. And then you got to prove your case of the new evidence or the change in circumstances. Now that will change, modify, or set aside any court order. So right now you don't have a court order, right?
Not well. Right now the court order is to. They asked for my son to.
That's not okay. Is that done in a court order or is that just a letter?
That might be. I haven't even seen that, but supposedly the judge signed already approved for my child to be removed out of my home.
That might be a warrant.
Yeah.
That's what. If I told you that on Monday you need to get a hold of that paperwork and see it, and I also told you to put your child with your sister, and so you don't have your child with you when you go see them, or if they come to your home, don't let them in. Keep the door closed.
Yeah, but that warrant if it's signed and.
Well, yeah, but you can take the child yourself down to the Child Protection Agency and make sure you copy everything and what they do. But the first step is you got to see the warrant on Monday.
Yeah, I got to see if it's signed, right? The
right. You got. In fact, if you want to, if you get it Monday morning or Monday afternoon, you can talk to me on the Monday show at night, and we can go from there.
Okay. Yeah, so Monday I'm going to look if they really signed it, and if they did, then I'm going to have to turn him over, right?
Well, you got to read the language in the form. I don't know what the form says.
Yeah.
It's all alleges right now. You have not seen it, and they should have given that to you.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but they did come to my house on Friday, I guess, with the officer, and they came. They probably came with the form, but I wasn't here to even see it.
Good. That is fine. What you can also tell them is that you need to have that form so you can speak with your attorney. That may shut them up. If they think you have an attorney, they may be quiet.
Okay, they may just back away if they think.
Well, they won't back away, but they may give you a couple more days. So, but we got to see what that court order says. If it's a warrant, then they can. And you don't want them to pick up your child at your home because they'll come in your home and look at things. No, you want to go ahead and turn them over at the Child Protection Services.
Yeah. Because they could come inside my home to take them if there's a warrant.
If there's a warrant to take them, they could, and you don't want them in your home anyway.
Yeah.
There are things in your home that can get you in trouble, so the best thing is to keep out of the home and be at their doorstep. It just depends on what the form says.
Yeah, well, they told me so far that if I don't turn them in by the 17th, that that there's gonna be a warrant for my arrest by the 17th.
Right. But you need to see some paperwork. Again, that is all hype to scare you.
Yeah.
And the policemen are intimidators.
Yeah, that's what they do, huh? They try to intimidate.
Well, they do intimidate and sometimes go beyond the law. They violate your civil rights, your constitutional rights. For someone to enter your home, they have to have a cause to enter it. There's got to be like an ongoing shooting of guns. You're strangling your child. You're beating your child against the wall. You and your wife are hitting each other. That's what the scenario you need for them coming to your home. Other than that, they need a court order to take them from your home. And it's very traumatic. It's very traumatic.
Yeah. I mean, mom did allege that me and her went through some domestic.
Right. I know you told me that it's domestic violence. See, that's what makes it complicated. Domestic violence is a criminal matter that's handled in criminal court. Your child custody battle with your child is handled in family court.
Yeah, but CPS went to file that warrant. They went to get it signed at a juvenile court in Riverside.
Right, they can get a warrant out of juvenile court to take your child, but they have to have good cause.
Yeah, so I mean that's what mom, So mom said that. So mom didn't know how else to defend herself, so that's what she said,
Well, see, that's what the hard part about is there you're not guilty until you're proven guilty in that criminal matter. With CPS, you're guilty until you're proven innocent. So if there's domestic violence in your home, that's the reason why they're taking your child. And you can request them to have the child be put with a family member that can watch over them, like you say your sister, right?
Yes.
Yeah, your sister would be qualified. So you can tell them when you get the form, you read the form, it does say they have right to your children. Just say, I want to have my child placed with a family member. That's your right, by the way.
Yeah.
And what will happen is that they'll check out your sister.
Yes. Well, what I hope is that the process doesn't take too long for my son to be transferred over to my sister's. To my sister's
Well,
home.
it shouldn't take too long because they're going to temporarily put them in the foster care system, either in a shelter, in a group home, or in a single family foster home.
Yeah, and the process, what's the longest that the process could take so my son could be placed at my?
Well, it took me 3 years to fight CPS. I know another gentleman took 8 years. The books say 48 days they have to bring your children back to you. Now, the process with them, it should take no more than a couple days. All they'll do is to do a background check for your sister to see if she has any altercations with the law. They'll inspect her home to make sure that she's got a place for him to sleep and she's got adequate food. She'll ask about her employment. So they'll check her out.
Yeah, she has a clean record. So how many days would it take for me to get my child back, would you say?
Well, they say 48 days, but it may be 3 years, 8 years.
Wow. And maybe that long. Why?
Well, the problem is they're not going to do anything when they petition the dependency court that they've taken your child and come up with a plan. They're going to sit there and say, until your domestic violence is taken care of, they'll do nothing and your child's held in limbo. I'm hoping that your child is held at your sister's and that you have visitation rights.
Yeah. So these cases usually take like 3 years to get resolved?
Well, I've been talking to people on here. There's one guy, a father, lost his wife, is going to try to get his children. He's camped out in a tent in Alaska. And it may take a year or two. There's certain mothers that have been fighting for years for their children.
Is that because they haven't complete the classes, or they do something
No,
wrong?
no. A part of it is they may. So, for instance, if you're proven not guilty of the domestic violence, then that'll be good for you. And yes, you'll take those classes and finish them. That's good for you. That'll be good for you. And they should return you child once your case is over with domestic violence. You got to go there and prove that you're innocent, and you'll need an attorney to do so.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna seek one out, man, just to get help for my child, because I mean.
Yeah. Well, I had to sell my home to make it happen with me to get. I hired Mr. Davis, and it cost me my home.
It cost you your home?
Yes.
That much money you had to spend?
Well, I had a high mortgage. There wasn't much equity in my home. I already had an equity line that had been already maxed out. So I didn't have any more equity that I could take out of the home. And so I had to sell the home. I used a lot of the money to live on. It wasn't just all to sell the home, but see, I'd lost my job at the age of 60. And 5 years later, they took my children. And a year and a half into the case, I hired Mr. Davis, who got back my two boys, but I still lost my daughter.
Oh man! I'm so.
It is a traumatic experience. I have right now a listener, Faye, she's from Kentucky, and she has gone through hell. She's been on my show I have 14 sessions on my show. I'm on 7 days a week.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna add you on Facebook.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, tomorrow is my big day. I guess to turn them in. They want me to turn them in, but I'm gonna.
No, tomorrow's the 15th. It's not the 17th.
Yeah, but so we agreed. I guess so. So we agreed on Saturday, like on Friday after they left my house. I called them because I didn't answer my door. So after they left the house, I called them, and they told me that by the 17th, if I don't turn them in,
right. The 17th is Wednesday. The 17th is Wednesday. And I would not open your door. Do not open your door on Monday. In fact, I wouldn't even be home on Monday.
Yeah, well, supposedly they, so we agreed, for Monday. That's what we talked about.
Well, yeah, you should never agree until you talk to an attorney. You could say real easily, you could call them on Monday, is that I need to get a copy of the court order, and my attorney asked me to show it to him, so he cannot be picked up Monday. We can pick him up Wednesday, the 17th, if it's necessary.
Yeah. A copy from my attorney. Yeah, so some people are saying that it'll probably look better on my behalf if I turn them in on Monday.
They won't look better. They won't look better because CPS are liars. They're deceiving you. They do deception.
Yeah, they're liars. They're definitely saying that if I don't cooperate, that they're going to write that down on the report.
They're trying to intimidate you. What they're doing is called intimidation. Yeah. You have your constitutional rights and your civil rights, and you have an attorney that represents you. They don't know you not hired them, but they think you have an attorney, and the attorney wants to see that court order.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely, get one for sure, man. I mean, I called Davis, but David wants like $6,500 up front.
Right.
And he won't.
That's pretty reasonable. That's pretty reasonable because I've heard a lot of the rates with people out there.
Yeah. But like David won't go to a trial, he said. I think he said, that $6,500, but for not trial, he won't participate in trial. I don't know how long a trial takes. It probably takes long. I don't even know if I need to go to trial or not. But
well, here's what the CPS has told you. You had domestic violence, and your wife has reported that you did domestic violence. Now, you may have a restraining order from your girlfriend. I know you guys weren't married, and you have a restraining order against her, but you got to go to court to prove that you did nothing in domestic violence to her.
Yeah.
And so until you do that, go ahead.
Yeah, because I don't think, like if we ever, because we did argue before, but I don't think there was never police call. There was never no police investigation.
Yeah, you don't have to convince me. You don't have to convince me. I'm not your judge. I'm not your attorney. You don't have to convince me. I believe you. I'm just trying to tell you what you need to do.
Yeah.
You need to get that quarter. You need to see it. You got to the 17th to turn your child over. Stay away from home. Put your child at your sister's.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
and then after you read the court order, if the court order does say they can take the child, then you got to ask the social worker, I want to place my child with my sister.
Yeah.
And you want her to be approved as a caregiver.
I'm going to ask for that.
Yeah.
As a caregiver, I'm going to say those exact words as a caregiver.
Right.
Approved.
Yeah, Faye, you can text me the link or send me the link. I'd like to see it. I'm sorry, I still have people talking in the room, so I had to address them. Because you're live on the show. You're live on the show. Your voice is being transmitted on the show, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing that. What?
That's fine. Yeah, it's so people could take in information, different information. Yeah, Bob. We appreciate the call, man. So that petition, the 388, won't help me out.
Not right now. Not right now. That's the petition. Don't throw the information away. But that's after you have a case against you. And you want to change it. You want to get your child back. Let's say your domestic violence is over in a couple weeks. Then you can file the 388 and there's a change. And that way the judge will hear you. You got to prove to the judge that you're innocent of the domestic violence.
Yeah.
And that you want the child placed in custody with you.
Okay. All right. So I'll ask about the 388.
Well, the 388, just keep it on the back burner. There's nothing you can do with that right now.
Okay.
And as I say, I'm on 14 times a week. So if you have a question, tomorrow morning or tomorrow night I'm on. So I'm there for you.
Okay. Sounds good, Bob. Thanks a lot.
I'm only a phone call away. Now, for all my listeners out there, as I was telling you about this podcast, please text in your message if you want to be on the show like I have right now with this gentleman. I have a phone number, and he's on the show talking. If you want to be on my show later, you can email Grace, my producer, at Grace at VincentWDavis.com. That's Grace at VincentWDavis.com. There's a ticket running across by my screen that gives the email. And tell her that you want to be in one of my 14 shows, morning show, evening show, Monday, Saturday, Sunday, or whatnot.
All right, Bob. Take care.
All right. Is there anything else I can do for you?
I'm going to be tuning in your show right now on Facebook.
All right.
Bob Pay. Bob Pace fights.
No, it's not.
Right?
It's not Bob Pace. The other show that I'm doing tonight is called "Fight CPS, Stop Taking Our Children."
Okay.
The Bob Pace show is in the morning. My evening show is "Fight CPS, Stop Taking Our Children."
Got it. And your Facebook page is called what again? So I could tune in.
Boy. I think you'll find me as Bob Pace on Facebook.
Okay.
But if you type in, the name Bob Pace on Facebook, you should find me.
All right. Sounds good. I'm gonna look through Facebook right now and tune in just to get
right. And if you get lost, I'm still on the show for another half an hour. So if you want to sign out, that's great. I want to tell all my people out there listening to please call in at 626-698-0990. And I can put you live on the show. So thank you for calling in.
Likewise. Thank you for answering the call.
You bet.
I'll talk to you some other time.
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. I gave you a homework to do, so don't let me down.
Okay, we'll do.
All right. Good luck to you. Good luck to you. Okay, we just had a nice call from California about a father who lost his children to domestic violence. He's been charged. His wife has been charged since the early part of the stage. And now supposedly there's a court order, which he hasn't seen, that says they have the right to take the child. So I told him to see that court order tomorrow, get a hold of the social worker. And meanwhile, I said for him to take his daughter to his sisters for safety and for him not to answer the door on Monday because they're going to be there looking for him to take his children. Anyway, he has a rough case because he's got to fight the criminal charge first. That's the sad part about it. When there's a criminal charge lacked on to your CPS charges, the CPS becomes secondary to the criminal charge. They did that for me. That's why my case lasts as long as it did. I had a 3-year case. Mine was battling for 3 years. I've been fighting for 14 years. And for 5 years after I lost my job through no fault of my own, they've been harassing me. And I had allegations made by lay people, my in-laws, that were saying things that weren't true. And they stole my children, too. Okay, Faye, if you're still listening, again, if you wanted to come on the show and talk, you're welcome to, or anybody else. I'd love to hear more comments and everything. Okay, with that being said right now, I need to go over my 3 rules. Every show I talk about my 3 rules. And they're very simple, they're very basic. I go in detail, but let me tell you the 3 rules. 1, hire an attorney. 2, get a notebook. And 3, don't talk to CPS workers or let them in your home or take your child, whether you're at the hospital or your home. Now, rule number 1, you're going to find that CPS is not your friend. The child protection system is bad. It's gone rogue. And that is from me, talking from me in Southern California at my case and some of the 500 people I've talked to at different states around the country. It's not a fun place to be in. They don't care about elderly people. They don't care about seniors. They don't care about children with special needs. And they certainly don't care about parents. And they will lie to you and they'll use the police wrongly. They'll try to intimidate you. Remember, you got your constitutional rights and civil rights. I suggest you look at Amendment 14, number 4, number 2. There's a lot of things in there that protects you. Also, I recommend strongly you go on the internet and Google. Everything is about CPS. They have a flow chart on there that will help you go through your case. Now, I'm talking about an attorney and why you need one. Well, you know the story of Alice in Wonderland. She falls in a hole and she goes through a lot of doors going nowhere. Well, that's what CPS is. The CPS, the child protection system, is very corrupt. They're not transparent, and they will deceive and lie to you about your children. They will alienate your children from you, which is against the law. They will traffic your children, which is against the law. And they take your children whether they're in imminent danger or not in imminent danger. Their SOP is they hear an allegation, and within 24 hours they need to investigate it, and then they're going to come to your home, demand entry, which you don't have to, and take your child because they say the child's in imminent danger. I know. I'm talking from experience. I'm talking a very horrible agency that turned my world upside down. They had me lose my home. Not only did I lose my job, but I lost my home to them. And it's been very hard to get another job. I don't know if my notoriety is in the way or what. All I know is that I'm a hardworking individual and I need a job to support my family. I'm a family man. Been married twice. I have 6 children. And I love my children. And my youngest is 18, still live at home. My 24-year-old at quit college in his senior year. He's at home trying to figure out what he wants to do. And he was affected by the child protection system. He was affected by foster care. And my next youngest daughter, who's 21, at age 12, she was convinced by the social worker to divorce her parents, her brother, her grandparents, her relatives, change her name, seal her birth certificate, and be adopted. That wasn't my daughter doing all that. That was the coaching of the social worker. And she made a threat to this day. I'll never forget it. You'll never see your daughter again. Why? The social worker was found to be lying on the stand. And my attorney, Vincent Davis, accused her of it. And she violated my civil and constitutional rights. And if I had any more money out of my home, I would fight them civilly. Because what they did was wrong. They have ruined my life. I'm 74 years old and it's sad. I'm looking for work to take care of my family. My family and I barely have money for food or transportation, take my son to school, or even to finish. You know, my young son has been accepted to a college. He has great grades. I don't know how my young son is doing it because he's gone through a lot of turmoil. He's gone through a lot of turmoil because of CPS. They turn your family, or they turn everybody against you. It really is sad. So that's why I'm telling you, you need to get an attorney. And I tell people to find an attorney, you need to make a list of 10 family law attorneys. From that list, you need to narrow it down to 5 because you're going to call them. And they need to be attorneys the family law attorneys that have fought CPS and got children back. Then one of the 5, you're going to have to work it out with their retainer fee and your chemistry with them and whether they work for you or not. I have an attorney here, Mr. Davis, who you can call at 888-888-6582 and make a session with him, a consultation session with him, and he only charges $49.99. That's $50 for 30 minutes. And he will talk about the strategies of your case and how to get your children back. It's well worth the phone call, and there's one of your top 5 attorneys to call about hiring. After you talk to him, you can discuss a retainer with him. And, I hired him. I think you'd be happy that you guys should do. So that's rule number 1, get an attorney. Rule number 2 is you need a notebook. You need a notebook so you can keep track of all the incidents that happened to you in CPS. It should be a notebook devoted to the incidents of CPS. And on the first line, you put the date and time. Then you put the people that were involved, the social workers, the children, the parents, the police, the firemen, the code enforcement, anybody that was involved. and you list them there. If you know their names, put it. If you don't, that's all right. Just say doctor, policeman, policeman one, policeman two. Then the next line you want to write what the incident was. They took your children. They came into your home. You met with them at their office. So I'm telling you, um, it's very important to have these notes because it's going to happen that 6 months from now you'll need them, you'll forget. Then after you put down the incident, which may be 1, 2, or 3 lines, then after that you need to put the outcome. What was the outcome? How did it finish? And if you don't have the outcome, you can come back later. Just leave a couple lines. Then skip a couple lines and put your next incident. Skip a couple lines and put your third incident and your fourth and your fifth. Also, use that notebook. Highlight it. Important things you need to tell your attorney or you need to tell the court. Highlight it. Use colors. Pink and yellow work really well. Pink and yellow work really well. So, having a notebook, because 5 years from now or 6 months from now, you won't be able to remember. I didn't do a notebook. I wish I had. Now, the last rule is a very important rule because it's where you don't want CPS in your life. If they contact you, be professional, but use yes or no answers. Do not disclose any more information because they'll use that against you. If they want to come into your home, do not allow them. Talk to them outside. Don't open your door if they're out there. The only way they can come into that home if there's a crime being committed in progress or they have a warrant that says they can come into the home. There has to be imminent danger to your child for them to break the door down. So it's no to social workers, it's also no to the police. You be very professional and you take their name and phone number or their business card and you tell them real easy, I have an attorney. He needs to speak. I need to speak to him first before I get back to you. So you're not putting them off. You're telling you have an attorney. That scares them because they hope they get people that don't have an attorney that want the public defender who is a worthless, that man or woman is just worthless in the court. There are too many cases, or 20 or more cases, and they're not going to fight for you. They're not going to fight for you. Now, there's another thing called medical trafficking, which has been happening a lot lately. And that's where the parents get a sick child in the night, they rush them to emergency, and then the doctor discovers what's wrong. And you may not want to do what the doctor asked, or you may do something different. Now, what's happened is a caseworker comes in and takes your child at the hospital because you had a disagreement with the doctor. That shouldn't be the case. Do not let them take it unless they have a court order. Tell them to get out of your medical room if they come in. Also, if you're birthing a child, don't have the social workers run in and take your child. Tell them to wait in the lobby. I don't care if they work at the hospital as a caseworker. Do not let them in. It's supposed to be for immediate family members in your birthing room. Now, if there's a warrant, read the warrant. Make sure it spells specifically what they want to do with it. It has a wet signature from a judge. So don't let them in your home. Don't let them take your child and say no to them. That's rule number 3. So I've given you the 3 basic rules I know that will help you, and people are using them, and it is helping them. I'm not an attorney. I'm a father that's been through the system that I'm sharing my experiences with. My experience may not be the same as yours. Most of them I heard from you all. Mine were mild to yours, but they still took my children because they thought they're in imminent danger. They thought they're in imminent danger. Now, we have about 15 minutes left of the show, and I'd like to talk about some of the topics that come up. We already talked about one, the 388 motion. That's an important one to keep in there. Now, there's a thing that's called the flow chart, and you might as well know this because it's so important to know what they're going to do. If it divides it into a child is then taken into custody and a child not in custody. That's after the allegations, which have to be investigated in 24 hours. They're usually done by a lay person or a professional person. And lay people have a habit of using retaliation against parents, their neighbors, whatever. They may not like the way your bushes grow over their yard. They may not like your noisy dog. So they're going to retaliate. And one of the easiest way they're doing is they'll contact the corrupt agency of child protectors and say an allegation that your children are starving next door. They have to, by law, to investigate it. They have to. So there's two types of children, one in custody and one without custody. There's a dependency petition that's filed, and you need to look at Welfare and Institution Code 300 and 325. It specifically talks about that. Now, your jurisdictional hearing will happen within 15 days from your child being removed. You want to look at the Welfare and Institution Code of 334. Now, when a petition's filed, they will have initial detention hearing. And that's within 24 hours of the filing of the petition. That's where the child is told to be in custody. Now, if the child's not in custody, they'll dismiss it. Then they have, after the initial detention hearing, they'll have a jurisdictional hearing. And that's Welfare Institution Code of 355. And after the jurisdiction hearing, they'll have what's called the deposition hearing, Welfare Code 358. And that's where they determine legal guardianship is established. Welfare Code 360 and Welfare Code 368. It's important you look at those welfare codes. So this flow chart, you can look it up. It's really easy. It helps you know what your child's going to go through. Then they're going to have a child removed from the home or a child not removed from the home. That's where they break up the child. Then they'll have a family reunification hearing and a permanent plan adoption. They'll have another detention hearing. So it's a whole page that you can find on Google. It's called the Juvenile Dependency Flow Chart. So look at that. That's really, really important. Okay, I want to talk about something that happens when your child is first taken from you. You will have a hearing called a safety plan hearing where they determine where to place your child. And it's a real important one. It's where you want to make a list of family members that they could stay with. And don't do just one, do several of them. Also, at that safety meeting, for all you Indian families out there, I'm talking about the Native American Indian, the first immigrants to our country. There's an act that was passed in 1979 called the Indian Child Welfare Act and the Domestic Violence, but the one that you want to pertain is the Welfare Act for the Indian child. What that did is it forces CPS to see if your child is an Indian and it's one of the federal recognized tribes that they'll write to see if your child is registered or you are registered, and that you could be registered. And if you are, then things are differently. Your child is no longer in CPS's hands. They're being transported to the tribe, and the tribe will put them with one of the Indian families who will take them back. They don't in for money, and they're legit. Family is a good group of people that take care of their own. And so I wanted everybody to know about the Indian Child Welfare Act. Now, I'd mentioned to you about medical kidnapping, and I'm trying to tell you that maybe you can understand what I'm talking about. They are terrorizing our children in the name of health care. It's so bad now that the child protection system now, for instance, here is a family fighting for a 13-year-old girl who has liver cancer. She was removed from her mother's care when that mother sought alternative treatments. Now, because she was looking for alternative treatments, because her daughter wasn't tolerating the chemotherapy, that's why. The daughter was too much pain, and the mother was doing alternative salting help there. Just like when you see a doctor, you don't like the doctor's view on something, you're entitled to another doctor and another doctor. Another case was the police tracked down the parents of a toddler after putting out a missing endangered child bulletin. He was removed from their custody, then transported for medical treatment without the consent of his parents. It's a real touchy area, this health care. You know, you as a parent still have your constitutional rights to provide health care for your children. If you don't like a doctor's results, you're entitled to other solutions. But be warned that Child Protection Services is in there. Things that trigger the kidnapping is the diagnostic of a proposed treatment plan, the recommendation of a risky surgery, prescribing a drug with unknown side effects, failing to address your questions or concerns, and totally disregarding your suggestion for alternative procedures or treatments. So the medical trafficking is happening with our children. It's what you all be aware. It seems like if your kid's sick in the night or whatever it is, you have to be very careful who you take your child to and the doctor-wise. It should be a family doctor you've seen for some time. Find out if the hospital has a caseworker on staff, because a lot of the hospitals now are having CPS workers. Well, we have about 7 minutes left here. Let's see some other topics here. It's hard to know because I don't know what case that you're what questions or concerns you have. Now, if you want to make complaints, because that's one thing you need to know there. If you have child custody and visitation issues that have been issued by a family court, those must be directed to the Family Court Service Office in the county where the orders were issued. Family court investigators, child custody evaluators, and family court mediators are available to provide dispute resolutions in each of the counties. Now, the telephone number for the Family Court Service is in the county government section in the directory called Courts. You also can go on the website at www.courts.yourstate, which is 2 letters, .gov. But that's child custody and visitation issues that you may have problems with. Now, if you have complaints regarding the social worker, which a lot of you may, and I do, and everything else, they have to be directed to the director of the county CWS agency for resolution. The name of the director's address and telephone numbers are listed in the county government section. But you wanted to talk to the CWS agency. Okay, we're getting close to the end here. Now, complaints against law enforcement are made to the appropriate law agency. If satisfaction is not received from that process, a further complaint can be listed with the county district attorney's office. They'll have the phone numbers and you can report it. Judges can also be reported of wrongdoing. And what you need to do is contact the State Commission on Judicial Performance. You need to write a letter. There's also a complaint form. So that's how you can do complaints. That's how you can do complaints. So I want to thank you all for listening tonight. It may be awful dry. I may not have answered your questions because I only had one person text in tonight, had one call in, and they got their answers and so forth. But I want you to keep trying. I'm on again tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And I'd love to have you there as my guest. And please follow my 3 rules. Get an attorney. Call into the law office at 888-888-6582 and ask for Mr. Davis. 2, get a notebook. List all your incidents. Be thorough and complete about it. 3, do not say anything to social workers or police. It's simple yes, no answers. Be polite. Tell them you're represented by an attorney. And don't let them take your children or come into your home or take your child from the hospital. A lot of things going on. And I wanted to thank you for listening tonight. Please be positive and get your children back. Don't give up. God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.